Sri Krishna Kulkarni, I think they were really, really important things you touched upon, and something that it's important for all of us to ponder over. What I'm going to talk about is slightly more practical advice as you step into the corporate world, or some of you step back into the corporate world. I'm going to talk to you about my experiences, but first, let me tell you that I was quite astounded that there are now 20 IIMs. I had no idea. But here I am at a place where it all started, the first IIM, the original. And I have lots of my friends who have graduated from here, and they assure me that not only is it the first, it's also the best. So it's a great honor to be invited to this wonderful institute on this momentous occasion. And for me, Calcutta, the city itself, has happy memories, and it's great to be back here. I spent 2 lovely years here in 2000 and 2001. I came to head JWT Calcutta, my first independent office and profit center, as much younger. I say much younger, a much younger 36-year-old. I fell in love with the city, its people, the food, the vibrant art scene, the fabulous winter months, especially December with its festive atmosphere, and some of the best clubs in the country, I must say. And yes, I did develop my interest in contemporary art, and I learned to play golf at Tollygunge Club. So lots of fond memories. Thank you, Chairman Kulkarni, Director Professor Sarkar, the Board of Governors, the entire faculty for inviting me. The faculty is what makes an institute great. I come myself from a family of academics. My parents were professors at the Delhi University, and my sister is a distinguished professor at SOAS at the University of London. So I have seen from close quarters the amount of effort teachers put in for their students and the difference they make to their futures. So a big round for the faculty, and they are sitting here. And congratulations to each one of you for completing your course and receiving your degree today. Today is your day. So what can you learn from me? You have an excellent faculty. You've got a fabulous peer group you can exchange ideas with. You know the world around you very well. It's all there. So I thought the one advantage that I have is the benefit of experience. Some of you have had some experience before you came to this institute, but not the over 3-decade experience that I have. An experience brings along hindsight, and you know hindsight is always 20/20. Therefore, I decided I'll share with you some of the lessons that I have learned from when I started working way back in 1986. Yes, and sometimes even I don't believe that I've been working for so long. 1986, God. Life lessons. Well, okay, more like work-life lessons. What they don't teach you and can't teach you at management school. While I started my career with Asian Paints, most of my experience has been in advertising and media. Industries where we tell stories. We are called the storytellers. So it is appropriate to share some of the stories that have served me as important life lessons. I even did a podcast recently as part of a series smartly titled Tales from Heads. Stories again. The first story can be titled The Godown Keeper and the Art of Cost Management. This was 1987, and my first posting was at the Indore branch of Asian Paints. I was a de facto deputy branch manager. The branch manager, a friendly, sociable person, called me to his room a few weeks later and gave me a task. Our expenses at the branch were rising, and the national sales head had given him a target to save costs. I don't remember the exact number, maybe it was a couple of lakhs. This was my first independent assignment, and I was keen to make a good impact. Office expenses were directly under my control, and I attacked the task with a vengeance. I asked to be shown the branch expenses under all the office heads and demanded a saving from each one. I put a freeze on stationery expenses and started switching off air conditioning at lunchtime. I even reduced the 3 free cups of tea to the staff to 2. In the second week of this cost-cutting drive, a visibly irritated godown head, I still remember his name, Jaiswal, approached me at lunchtime and asked me what the hell was I up to. Yes, it was summer and really hot, and our shirts were damp with sweat. I told him about the cost control directive and the need to reduce expenses at the branch. He asked me the amount I needed to save, and I gave him the target. The following week, he came to me with a triumphant smile. Done, he said. You have your monthly savings. I looked at him in disbelief because I had been struggling despite even reducing the 3 cups of tea to 2. He revealed his secret and my most important cost management lesson. He had called all the top truckers who had transported paint cans to our dealers across the state and renegotiated their charges down by a small percentage. And that was all that was required to meet their savings target. The simple fact was that 70% of our branch expense budget was paint transport cost. Reducing a tiny amount from the largest cost head was enough to meet the target, rather than trying to save from many small cost heads where even a large percentage saving would have no impact. Simple common sense, you'd say, but sometimes, as we know, we miss the obvious solutions. I had missed the bigger picture. I had looked at only the cost heads I was directly responsible for. However, the real savings opportunity lay elsewhere. I suspect the branch manager didn't realize this either and was pleasantly surprised to see the branch cost reduce in the following month itself. I reinstated the 3 cups of tea and the air conditioning hummed through lunch. It was more than a cost management lesson for me. It was a lesson in deciding priorities. And this is something that you will be faced with once you start working, and even now. Address the big opportunity first. A lot of time and resources get wasted in going after the small opportunities. They require the same amount of time and effort, but do not have a significant impact on results. However, there was an even bigger lesson, one that I internalized in 1987 with this incident, and it helped me all through my career. It was learning to be like a sponge, to be open to inputs and be willing to learn from people I interact with. Constantly, soak everything up like a sponge. Keep learning. I learned from my bosses, both good stuff and bad. I learned from my peers and my juniors. I learned a lot from all my clients. From the chairman of a large Indian company, I learned the importance of having a sense of humor, really, and using it to get the best work out of people. From the marketing director of a global MNC, I learned a lot about presentation skills. I even got a specific, seemingly inconsequential but vital tip. Where do you sit in a U-shaped conference room? If some of you are interested, I'll let you know over dinner tonight. From my learnings of working with Pizza Hut as a young agency executive, I could come up with excellent sales promotion ideas for Reebok, to the astonishment of the Reebok MD, who once asked me in front of his marketing team how I managed to come up with these novel ideas. Not difficult, since both Pizza Hut and Reebok were retail environments and the target audience is not very different either. So while you have excellent subject knowledge, I advise you never to stop learning. From people, from your varied experiences, never stop being a sponge. Soak up and squeeze out the gyan whenever needed. My second story is about change, about ChatGPT and the telex machine. It is a question I asked a group of 200 young people at an offsite when I was heading worldwide media, an exciting joint venture of the BBC and the Times of India. We published over a dozen international lifestyles magazines. It was 2012 and the iPad had just been launched. The iPad had the potential to do to magazines what Kindle had done to books. Was it a threat or was it an opportunity? I showed this group a visual of a machine and asked them to identify it. No one could. It was a photograph of a telex machine. We still use the telex machine as a means of communication when I started my career with Asian Paints. The telex gave way to the fax gave way to the email, and then, of course, we had video conferencing. My point to our young staff was that change is not new. The change is inevitable. As the cliche goes, change is the only constant. The choices we have in front of us is whether we resist it or embrace it with open arms. While the iPad would certainly disrupt the existing magazine structures, it offered a huge opportunity to extend magazines' reach and accessibility. Today, the buzzwords are AI and ChatGPT. They have even pushed metaverse to the background. And yes, we should be ready for some serious disruption. Again, in the way we work, the jobs that will get replaced, even the way your faculty assesses students' submissions and assignments. But like I reminded a young staff in 2012, I'd like to remind you that change is not new. In fact, when my generation started their careers, like you are going to start now, most of you, we saw more dramatic change than we have seen in the last few years. The 90s was a historic decade for India, and I was only 4 years into my working life. We experienced change at an amazing pace. I remember our agency launched Motorola Pagers in India. The Iridium satellite phone was launched with a lovely tagline, "Now geography is history." Both disappeared quickly as the mobile phone took center stage. In our world of advertising, there were stupendous changes too, as TV advertising got a huge fillip with the entry of cable and satellite television as opposed to the existing terrestrial TV, which was basically Doordarshan. The most dramatic new event of the 90s was, of course, the birth of the World Wide Web in 1994, the internet, which we take so much for granted today. In India, it was not just the technological change that made the 90s a historic decade. It was also the enormous economic impact of liberalization. In 1991, in response to a balance of payment crisis and a strong push from the IMF, Manmohan Singh, then the finance minister, announced the new economic policy based on liberalization, privatization, and globalization. In one fell swoop, India moved dramatically from a license charge scarcity economy to becoming a part of the global economy. The change was immediate. It was across all industries, including our industry, advertising. Big international brands entered India. Thumbs Up now had competition from Pepsi, which my agency had launched. And by 1993, Coca-Cola was in India too. So many brands in every industry competing to get attention of consumers meant more business for us. We grew 40 to 50% every year for the first few years. Then our remuneration model changed to a fee basis rather than a 15% commission on clients' advertising spends. A big change. We needed to change our ways of operating too. We had to learn new ways to protect our margins while doing our best for our clients and their brands. For advertising professionals, there was an urgent need to develop skills required to create for the new communication platforms, as also to adapt to the new remuneration model of the industry. At the start of this historic decade, I was 26 years old. I was just a year into my new job in advertising, and I realized I had one significant advantage over my more senior colleagues. I was agile. I could adapt quickly. I could because I had no baggage of conducting business in a particular way. Status quo and inertia was not holding me back. And that's something I internalized, agility. In a fast-changing world, the biggest risk to organizations and professionals is getting too comfortable in their ways of working. because things will change. Disruption is around the next corner. My generation saw massive disruption during the financial crisis of 2008, and then with the unprecedented COVID pandemic. I was a first time CEO of a new industry in 2008 and a not so new one during the pandemic. I had to steer our organization through both these disruptions. I had to lead the change. Change can be challenging, but change is mostly opportunity. Though only for the agile, both organizations as well as professionals. I've always told my teams to question and challenge how we work, that there is nothing written in stone. There are no holy cows. Keep moving, keep adapting, stay agile. With so much change, you can't expect to have a smooth, linear career graph. You will make mistakes, you will fail, but fail fast and learn fast and try again. Pick yourself up and move on. I can promise you that resilience is a crucial trait. It makes you fear failure less. It gives you the confidence to experiment and to try out new things. So let's add resilience to agility. They go together. So far, what I have tried to tell you is be a sponge, stay agile, and be resilient. My next story is called The Exit Door. It was only my second year at JWT. I had a bunch of clients to manage with a small team reporting to me. There was a lot of work, so I was happy when a young executive was transferred from another group to me. However, just a week later, I was asked to take on another young executive, one I didn't really need. When I asked why, I was summoned to the general manager's office. I was told that the two young executives assigned to me had not been working out in their earlier groups. The group heads had decided to show them the company's exit door. However, he had seen the dynamics of my small team and wanted me to give these executives a second chance. And if even I couldn't motivate them to perform, then it was definitely the exit door for them. I was chuffed. I had quickly got a reputation for being a good team leader in my new company. The two executives stayed on and built their careers in the company. Some years later, one of them left advertising and went on to become a senior vice president at Nestlé's headquarters in Vevey, Switzerland. Leadership. You will need leadership skills from very early on in your career. You will need to build a good team. I have been into sports all my life, and I firmly believe that while individuals are important, it is good teams, great teams, that win. Besides, if you want to grow in an organization, you will need to take on more responsibility. For that, you need a team to work with you. Your team's success is your success. There is no one leadership style. It depends on your personality. However, I can share what I believe makes for a good leader. Don't be insecure. An insecure leader is the worst kind of leader. Let go, delegate, but remember you're only delegating authority, not responsibility. To delegate, you need to trust your team members. Give them rope. Don't micromanage. 9 times out of 10, they will fly. They will make you proud. Your team members are individuals. They have their unique personalities, their ways of working. Don't expect anyone to be like you or exactly like you, like Mini-Me in that Austin Powers movie. I don't know whether you guys have seen it, but it's a great movie. Do team things beyond the office. Even now, at any leadership offsite, I'm okay with someone missing a part of the day's work presentations. But I want everyone to be present at the bar in the evening. No exceptions. Informal networks are of crucial importance. Remove the fear of failure. Your team members should know you have their backs. Share, be honest, be transparent. And finally, lead, don't manage. You lead people, you manage processes. People don't want to be managed. We don't want to be managed, do we? This brings me to my final story, one that involves someone who has been in the news lately, Ajay Banga, probably the next president of the World Bank. It's about loyalty, opportunity, and doing what you love. At a recent CIA HR conclave in Mumbai, I was invited to deliver the keynote address. One of the things I said resonated a lot with the audience. Rather than companies expecting loyalty from their employees, it should be the other way around. Companies should be loyal to their employees. Employees should only be loyal to their careers, is what I said. In my almost 40 years career, I have worked only in 3 companies, and in one of them, JWT, for nearly 30 years. So was I loyal to JWT? No, JWT was loyal to me. It spent money sponsoring me for many internal and external training programs. It invested in me and gave me many opportunities to grow and build my career in the company. And yet, I quit. At the time, I was heading our largest office, in Mumbai. I left to head Worldwide Media, a joint venture of 2 powerful media houses, the Times of India and the BBC. Being a CEO at 43 in a completely new industry was a good career move. I was not being disloyal to JWT, I was being loyal to my career. After 7 exciting years at Worldwide Media, JWT asked me to join back as chairman and CEO of not just JWT India, but the entire JWT group for South Asia. 7 companies, 20 offices, 3 countries, some 2,000 people. To be offered a position to head a company I had joined as an account executive was too good to refuse. Once more, JWT had provided me with an opportunity and demonstrated its loyalty. So where does Ajay Banga fit into this story? Ajay was my client when he was heading the marketing function at Pizza Hut. We launched Pizza Hut in India, including the world's first vegetarian Pizza Hut in Ahmedabad. I remember learning the ropes of the QSR business together with him in Singapore. We also spent 2 weeks learning to make pizzas and serving them at different outlets. The launch in India was a huge success, so it was a bit of a shock when Ajay told me he was leaving to join Citibank. He asked me if I would like to take up his job at Pizza Hut, as the CEO was keen that I do. After some thought, I said no. Ajay did exceptionally well at Citibank and a couple of years later was heading Europe and Asia based in London. We met for lunch at his house when I was holidaying there. He was looking for a marketing head for Citibank in India and asked me if I would be interested. Again, I thought about it and said no. In hindsight, was it the right decision to stay on in JWT and advertising? Was I afraid to get out my comfort zone and take up new challenges? Maybe. But the reason I stayed on in JWT were 2. First, I was getting opportunities regularly. My career path in JWT was visible and clear to me. But more importantly, the reason that I was hesitant to leave JWT and advertising was because I was loving my job. I was loving advertising. Every year, I was asked to present at an annual conference for all the freshers who had joined JWT during the year. 3 slides in my presentation always got a laugh. The first had names of exciting cities and places I had been to for various ad film shoots. These were both in India and abroad and filled up the entire slide. The second had names of people I had interacted with in my first few years in JWT. These included film stars, musicians, artists, sports celebrities, photographers, film directors, models, lyricists, poets. And the third slide simply said, and JWT pays me for this. It was fantastic. I mean, every day was a new day full of excitement. And yes, at the end of the month, you got a salary. You will have many opportunities in your career, so how will you decide which ones to take and the ones to pass? While there will be many evaluation parameters for you to consider, I will suggest 2. First, measure the opportunity for what it does for your long-term career. Don't evaluate it as another job. Evaluate it as a career move. And second, more importantly, listen to your heart. Follow your heart. I've always believed in doing what you love rather than loving what you do. A fine but important difference. As the quote goes, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So we have covered the following. Be a sponge, be agile, be resilient. Teams win. Lead, don't manage people. And do what you love. I could end here. However, now that I have you as my captive audience, and since I have got 2 young adults back home who don't always listen to my advice, Here's some advice for you, and especially for people who are starting their first jobs. First, start a SIP with your first salary. Play a sport or take up a hobby. Stay fit. Work stress, long hours, and an unhealthy lifestyle will likely be a reality soon, and your metabolism is slowing down. So find the time to exercise regularly. Keep in touch with your friends from here. The alumni network is very important. And stay in touch with your parents. Call them at least twice a week. Call, not text. A lot of parents are here, and I'm sure they will agree with me. Thank you. I started my career in 1986, as I told you. We saw India opening up to the world and becoming a part of the global economy. It threw up a lot of opportunities for us. The coming decades will bring a host of new opportunities for you, both in India and abroad, both as corporate professionals and as entrepreneurs. You are amongst the brightest in India. By graduating from IIM Calcutta, you already have an unfair advantage. Be bold, be courageous, and be ambitious. To quote a line we coined for one of our clients, Pepsi, keep telling yourself, ye dil mange more. I wish you all the best. Thank you.